The ambassadors from 7 different star systems gathered in the Great Hall of Crossroads Station, their voices mixing together like instruments in a very unpleasant orchestra. The topic of today's discussion was the same as it had been for the past 50 years: what to do about the humans. They still use chemical rockets for most of their transport, laughed Ambassador Thane, his blue skin rippling with amusement. The Trilaxian Empire had controlled 300 star systems for over a millennium, and he never let anyone forget it. Yesterday, one of their ships had to make an emergency landing because they ran out of fuel. Fuel? Can you imagine? The other delegates burst into laughter. Ambassador Krill of the Void Syndicate slammed his forearms on the table. His insect-like features twisted in what passed for a grin among his species. My traders report that humans still argue among themselves about basic trade agreements. They cannot even agree on a single currency for their own planet, yet they want to join galactic commerce. From the corner of the room, the ancient representative of the Keeper Coalition remained silent. Elder Knox had lived for 3,000 years and had seen many species rise and fall, but even she found humanity's persistence amusing in its futility. Perhaps, she said in her voice like grinding stone, we should simply ignore them until they grow up. Another few centuries might teach them wisdom. The laughter grew louder, but none of them noticed the small device hidden in the corner of the room, quietly recording every word, every gesture, every dismissive comment. The device was of human origin, though its technology was far beyond anything the aliens believed humans capable of creating. 3 systems away, Alex Reed finished, reviewing the monthly intelligence reports in his small office aboard the UES Defiance. The ship looked ordinary enough from the outside, just another human vessel with visible welding marks and what appeared to be jury-rigged components holding the hull together. Any alien scanning it would detect exactly what they expected: primitive, fusion engines, basic energy shields, and weapons that barely qualified as military grade. They would be wrong on every count. "Alex, you need to see this," called Maya Patel from the engineering section. She had been with the human deep space program since its real beginning 20 years ago, back when the government had made the decision to hide their true capabilities from the galaxy at large. Her official title was Chief Engineer, but her real job was making sure their advanced technology looked like scrap metal to alien sensors. Alex walked through the corridor, passing crew members who nodded respectfully. Tom Bradley was cleaning what looked like an ancient projectile weapon, though the device in his hands could actually punch holes through the strongest alien armor. Dr. Anna Foster sat at her workstation, supposedly studying alien plant samples, while actually analyzing intercepted communications from 6 different star systems. "What have you found?" Alex asked as he reached Maya's station. She pointed to her screen, which showed what appeared to be a standard diagnostic readout. To untrained eyes, it looked like a ship barely holding together. To Alex, it showed a vessel whose true power output was being carefully hidden behind layers of false readings and deliberate inefficiencies. "The Trilaxians are planning something," Maya said quietly. "Their fleet movements in the outer rim don't match their usual patrol patterns. Dr. Foster thinks they might be preparing for some kind of demonstration." Alex nodded. For 300 years, humanity had played the role of the galaxy's comic relief. They had allowed other species to see them as bumbling newcomers who couldn't master basic spaceflight, let alone pose any kind of threat to established powers. The strategy had been born from their first contact with alien scouts, when Earth's leaders realized that appearing weak was far safer than revealing their true capabilities. The irony was perfect. While aliens mocked human primitive technology, human scientists had been studying every piece of alien tech they could get their hands on. Every trade negotiation, every diplomatic meeting, every moment of condescension had been an opportunity to learn. Humans had not just caught up to galactic technology, they had surpassed it in ways the aliens couldn't even imagine. "Have you heard from Admiral Jackson recently?" Alex asked. Maya smiled. "The fleet exercises in the asteroid belt went perfectly. 50 ships completed the training without a single alien sensor detecting them. The new stealth systems work better than we hoped." Alex felt a familiar mix of pride and anticipation. Hidden throughout the Sol system, humanity had built a space force that would shock the galaxy. Ships that could appear and disappear at will, weapons that could crack planets, and most importantly, the ability to coordinate as a unified species when threatened. No other galactic power had ever achieved true unity among their people, but humans had managed it through centuries of being laughed at by their supposed betters. The communication system buzzed, and Tom Bradley's voice came through the speakers. "Alex, we're getting a priority message from Earth. President Santos wants to speak with all ship commanders within the hour." Alex glanced at Maya, who was already securing her workstation. They both knew what this meant. After 3 centuries of careful planning, patient observation, and strategic deception, humanity was finally ready to show the galaxy what they were truly capable of. "Tell the crew to prepare for departure," Alex said. "And Maya, make sure our engines look like they're on the verge of breaking down when we leave dock. We wouldn't want to disappoint our audience." As the UES Defiant slowly pulled away from Crossroads Station with appropriately dramatic engine sputters and fake emergency repairs, none of the alien observers paid it much attention. It was just another human ship, probably heading home for another embarrassing mechanical failure. They had no idea they were watching the beginning of the end of their galactic dominance. The humans they had mocked for centuries were about to stop pretending, and when they did, the laughter would die in throats across 1,000 star systems. The greatest joke in galactic history was about to have its punchline, and humanity would be the ones laughing last. President Maria Santos walked through the underground corridors beneath Geneva, her footsteps echoing in spaces that officially did not exist. The facility stretched for miles in every direction, housing the true government of Earth and the real architects of humanity's future among the stars. Above ground, the world continued its carefully orchestrated performance of political division and technological struggle, while below, the most brilliant minds of the species worked in perfect coordination. "The Defiance has completed its mission to Kepler 180 CF, reported Director Williams as they reached the central command chamber. The room buzzed with activity as hundreds of analysts processed intelligence from across the galaxy. Dr. Foster's archaeological team found exactly what we hoped they would find. Maria nodded, settling into her chair at the head of the massive conference table. Around her, the leaders of humanity's true space program displayed the results of 3 centuries of careful deception. Admiral Jackson commanded fleets that existed in the shadows of asteroid fields and dead moons. Dr. Sarah Kim led research facilities that had unlocked secrets the galaxy believed were impossible for humans to comprehend. General Martinez oversaw ground forces equipped with weapons that could level cities in seconds. "Show me what we discovered," Maria said. The holographic display activated, revealing the ruins that Alex Reed's team had explored on the barren world of Kepler 186F. The structures were ancient beyond measure, built by a species the galaxy had nearly forgotten. Most aliens believed the architects had simply vanished into some higher dimension, abandoning the physical universe for realms beyond mortal understanding. The truth was far more disturbing. The architects were eliminated. Dr. Foster's voice came through the communication system from the distant archaeological site. Not by natural disaster, not by transcendence, but by systematic extermination carried out by the very species that now control galactic politics. The hologram shifted, showing recovered data files and translated records. The story they told was one that humanity had suspected, but never proven until now. 1,000,000 years ago, the architects had ruled the galaxy with technology that made current civilizations look primitive. They had been benevolent rulers sharing knowledge freely and maintaining peace across countless star systems. Then younger species began to grow ambitious. The early Trilaxians, ancient keepers and the predecessors of the Void Syndicate, had formed a secret alliance. They had studied architect technology, learned their weaknesses, and struck simultaneously across the galaxy. The war had lasted centuries, but the outcome was inevitable once the architects realized that species they had nurtured and protected were systematically destroying them. "The parallels to our current situation are unmistakable," Director Williams observed. "The architects made the same mistake we've been careful to avoid. They revealed their full capabilities too early and allowed potential enemies to study their Weaknesses. Maria studied the data with growing satisfaction. For 300 years, human leadership had followed a simple strategy. Appear weak while growing strong, learn everything while revealing nothing, and above all, never let the galaxy see humanity's true potential until it was too late for anyone to stop them. The strategy had worked perfectly. While aliens mocked human space travel, human engineers had developed propulsion systems that could cross the galaxy in days instead of months. While aliens laughed at human weapons, human scientists had created devices that could destabilize stars. While aliens dismissed human coordination as chaotic, human society had achieved something no other species had managed: true unity of purpose across their entire civilization. Admiral Jackson, report on fleet status, Maria commanded. The Admiral's weathered face appeared on the display, transmitted from his flagship hidden in the asteroid belt beyond Mars. All battle groups are operational and undetected. We have 47 capital ships, 300 frigates, and over 1,000 support vessels ready for deployment. Our stealth technology continues to exceed all expectations. Dr. Kim, what about our technological advantages? The scientist's enthusiasm was clear even through the holographic connection. Our energy weapons are approximately 400% more efficient than anything currently used by galactic powers. Our defensive systems can withstand direct hits from anything in the known arsenal of potential enemies. Most importantly, our communication networks allow for real-time coordination across unlimited distances. Maria allowed herself a moment of pride. Humanity had not simply caught up to the galaxy, they had leaped far beyond it. The species that aliens considered barely capable of interplanetary travel now possessed the most advanced military force in the known universe. The question remains, General Martinez interjected. When do we reveal ourselves? It was the question that had dominated human leadership for decades. They could continue the deception indefinitely, growing stronger while their enemies remained complacent. But every passing year brought new risks. Eventually, someone would discover the truth about human capabilities, and surprise was their greatest weapon. Maria turned her attention to the intelligence reports flooding in from across the galaxy. Human agents, disguised as traitors and diplomats, had infiltrated every major government and military organization. They reported growing arrogance among established powers, increasing certainty that humanity posed no threat to galactic stability. The Void Syndicate is planning expansion into the Centauri system, she read from the latest briefing. Their leadership believes human colonies will offer no resistance to annexation. The room fell silent. Centauri was home to over 50 million humans, colonists who had spent generations building new worlds under the protection of Earth's hidden fleets. If the Syndicate moved against them, expecting easy conquest, they would discover just how wrong the galaxy had been about humanity's true nature. It seems, Maria said quietly, that our enemies are about to choose the time and place for us. Admiral Jackson, prepare the fleets for deployment. Dr. Kim, ready our most advanced technologies for combat testing. General Martinez, brief our colonial forces on Operation Revelation. Around the table, humanity's leaders nodded in understanding. After 3 centuries of patience, after 300 years of being the galaxy's favorite joke, the time had come to show the universe what humans were truly capable of achieving. The Void Syndicate thought they were about to conquer a defenseless human colony. Instead, they were about to trigger the end of the old galactic order and the beginning of something entirely new. The species that had laughed at humanity's supposed weakness were about to learn why patience was the deadliest weapon in the human arsenal. The alarm systems throughout New Eden Colony began their urgent wailing just after dawn. Lisa Chang had been expecting this moment for weeks, ever since intelligence reports confirmed that Warlord Krex was moving his fleet toward the Centauri system. She finished her morning coffee calmly while colonists rushed to emergency shelters, following evacuation procedures they had practiced countless times but never expected to use. Captain Chang, came the voice through her communicator. Enemy fleet detected at the system's edge. Estimated arrival in 6 hours. Lisa smiled grimly as she walked toward the concealed military command center beneath the colony's main administrative building. For 3 centuries, human colonies had appeared vulnerable and lightly defended to alien observers. The reality was very different. Every human settlement beyond Earth was protected by forces that could obliterate anything the galaxy could send against them. "Wake up the fleet," she ordered as she descended into the command center. Around her, walls that had appeared to be standard colony construction shifted and revealed advanced military systems. Computer screens activated, showing tactical displays that would have impressed even the most sophisticated alien military commanders. The colonists above continued their evacuation to underground shelters that were actually heavily armored command bunkers, while Lisa's real concern focused on the space around Centauri. Hidden in the asteroid fields behind moons and cloaked throughout the system, the Third Defense Fleet had been waiting patiently for exactly this scenario. "All ships report ready," announced Commander Park from the heavy cruiser Invisible Hand. "Stealth systems are active. The enemy will not detect us until we choose to be seen." Lisa studied the incoming enemy formation on her tactical display. Krex had brought 200 ships, including several massive dreadnoughts that were the pride of the Void Syndicate fleet. It was a force designed to intimidate human colonists into immediate surrender, large enough to destroy any conventional defense, but small enough to avoid attracting unwanted attention from other galactic powers. The Syndicate had made their calculations, based on 3 centuries of human technological performance. They expected to face small patrol vessels with chemical rockets and basic energy weapons. They anticipated desperate resistance, followed by inevitable defeat. They planned to use their easy victory over human primitives as a demonstration of Syndicate power to the rest of the galaxy. They were about to learn that their calculations were fatally flawed. "Enemy fleet entering weapons range," reported Lieutenant Torres from her position at the sensor station. "Syndicate Dreadnought Bone Crusher is broadcasting surrender demands to the colony." Lisa listened to Warlord Krex's arrogant message, demanding that humans abandon their colony and submit to Syndicate rule. His voice carried the casual contempt that aliens had shown toward humanity for centuries, the absolute certainty that resistance was pointless and defeat was inevitable. "Send our reply," Lisa ordered. The message she transmitted was simple and direct. "This is Captain Lisa Chang of the Earth Defense Forces. You have entered human space without permission and threatened human civilians. You have 30 seconds to begin withdrawal or face the consequences." Across the Syndicate fleet, alien warriors burst into laughter. The idea that humans would threaten them was hilarious beyond measure. Several ship commanders began placing bets on how quickly the human colony would collapse under bombardment. 30 seconds passed. "Decloak all vessels," Lisa commanded. "Begin Operation Thunderclap." Throughout the Centauri system, space itself seemed to come alive. Ships materialized from nothingness, their stealth systems disengaging to reveal a defensive force that dwarfed the attacking Syndicate fleet. Where Krex had brought 200 vessels, humanity had been hiding over 1,000. But the numbers were only the beginning of the Syndicate's problems. The human ships bore no resemblance to the primitive vessels aliens had observed for centuries. These were sleek, deadly craft that moved with impossible speed and precision. Their weapon systems charged with energy readings that made Syndicate sensors scream warnings about dangerous radiation levels. "All vessels commence firing," Lisa ordered calmly. The battle lasted exactly 17 minutes. Human weapons tore through Syndicate shields as if they were made of paper. Energy beams that should have taken multiple hits to penetrate alien armor instead cut through dreadnought hulls with single strikes. Syndicate return fire either missed completely as human ships dodged with impossible agility, or struck shields that absorbed attacks without even flickering. Warlord Krex watched in growing horror as his mighty fleet was systematically dismantled by forces he had dismissed as negligible. The humans were not just defeating his ships, they were doing it without apparent effort. Every tactical advantage the Syndicate thought they possessed had proven to be meaningless against technology they had never imagined. "Retreat!" Krex screamed across all frequencies. "All ships, emergency withdrawal." But retreat proved as impossible as victory had been inevitable. Human ships surrounded the Syndicate fleet with movements too fast for alien sensors to track properly. When Syndicate vessels tried to escape, they found their hyperspace drives mysteriously failing to engage. The humans had somehow disabled their faster-than-light capabilities without the aliens even realizing it had happened. One by one, Syndicate ships exploded or surrendered as their crews faced weapons they could not comprehend and defenses they could not penetrate. The mighty dreadnought Bone Crusher, pride of the Syndicate fleet, lasted longer than most, but eventually joined the growing debris field that had once been Krex's invasion force. Lisa allowed exactly one Syndicate vessel to escape, a small scout ship that she deliberately permitted to reactivate its hyperspace drive. As it fled the system carrying news of the devastating defeat, she opened a channel to the surviving crew. "Tell your leaders," she said calmly, "that humanity is done pretending to be weak. Tell them that we have been watching, learning, and preparing for centuries. Tell them that any further aggression against human worlds will be met with responses that make today look merciful." The scout ship vanished into hyperspace, carrying with it the first news of humanity's true capabilities that would reach alien governments. Lisa knew that within days, every major power in the galaxy would be receiving reports that would shatter their fundamental assumptions about human weakness and technological inferiority. Above her, in the colony, humans began emerging from their shelters to see the debris field where an enemy fleet had been destroyed so completely that rescue operations were pointless. Children who had been raised on stories of alien superiority watched human ships patrol their sky with casual dominance. Lisa Chang had commanded the opening battle of a new era in galactic politics. The species that had been the galaxy's favorite joke for 3 centuries had just revealed that they possessed military capabilities beyond anything their enemies had imagined possible. The laughter that had echoed through alien chambers for generations was about to stop forever. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened within hours of the first reports from Centauri reaching civilized space. Ambassador Thane of the Trilaxian Empire sat in stunned silence as intelligence officers presented their findings to the assembled delegates. The numbers seemed impossible. The tactical analysis read like science fiction, but the evidence was undeniable. The Void Syndicate's second fleet had been annihilated. 200 ships, reported General Vask, the Council's military advisor, including 12 dreadnoughts and the flagship Bone Crusher, all destroyed or captured within 17 standard minutes. Human casualties, 0. Around the Great Chamber, representatives from dozens of star systems struggled to process information that challenged everything they thought they knew about galactic power structures. The humans who had been unable to maintain basic spacecraft for centuries had somehow revealed military capabilities that surpassed anything in the known galaxy. There must be some mistake, Ambassador Krill of the remaining Syndicate leadership insisted desperately. Humans use chemical rockets and projectile weapons. Their largest ships are barely the size of our fighters. The mistake, came a new voice from the chamber's entrance, was believing that for 300 years. Alex Reed walked into the council chambers with the confident stride of someone who no longer needed to pretend weakness. Behind him came Dr. Anna Foster, carrying data storage devices that contained information which would reshape galactic civilization. The human delegation had requested this emergency session, and their timing was perfect. Captain Reed, Elder, Knox of the Keeper Coalition spoke with a voice like grinding stone. Perhaps you would care to explain how your species accomplished the impossible. Alex smiled as he took his place at the speaker's podium. Around him, aliens who had mocked humanity for generations now watched with expressions ranging from confusion to growing fear. The power dynamics in the chamber had shifted completely, and everyone present could feel the change. The impossible? Alex repeated calmly. You mean developing advanced technology, achieving military superiority, creating a unified planetary government capable of long-term strategic planning? None of that is impossible, Honored Elder. You simply chose to believe we were incapable of it. He activated the holographic display, showing the assembled delegates images from the Battle of Centauri. The footage revealed human ships moving with impossible speed, weapons that cut through the strongest alien armor, and defensive systems that rendered enemy attacks meaningless. For 3 centuries, humanity has maintained a careful deception. Every mechanical failure you witnessed was deliberate. Every political disagreement you observed was theater. Every moment of technological inferiority was a calculated performance designed to keep you complacent while we prepared for the day you would reveal your true intentions. The chamber erupted in shocked voices as the implications became clear. Species that had built their power on assumptions of human weakness suddenly realized they had been living in a carefully constructed illusion. Dr. Foster stepped forward, her voice carrying clearly through the chaos. We also discovered something else during our archaeological research on Kepler 186f, something that explains why humanity chose to hide our capabilities rather than reveal them. The holographic display shifted, showing the ancient ruins that Alex's crew had explored. The data they had recovered painted a picture of galactic history that most species had forgotten or chosen to ignore. The architects, Dr. Foster announced, the species you claim transcended physical existence. They didn't transcend anything. They were eliminated by a coalition of younger races who coveted their technology and feared their power. Elder Knox rose from her seat with movements that betrayed her ancient age. Impossible. The architects were our teachers, our guides. They departed for higher realms of existence. They were murdered, Dr. Foster replied bluntly, by the ancestors of the very species that now control galactic politics. We have their historical records, their final transmissions, their desperate attempts to understand why species they had helped were systematically destroying them. The evidence was overwhelming. Ancient battle records, strategic communications, and archaeological data all painted the same picture. The Trilaxian Empire, Keeper Coalition, and Void Syndicate had all participated in the genocide of their former benefactors, then created a mythology of transcendence to hide their crimes. The architects made one critical error, Alex continued. They revealed their full capabilities too early. They allowed potential enemies to study their weaknesses, to plan coordinated attacks, to unite against them. Humanity learned from their mistake. Ambassador Thane found his voice, though it shook with implications he was only beginning to understand. Are you threatening the Council? Threatening. Alex laughed, the sound echoing through the suddenly quiet chamber. Ambassador, we're explaining. For 3 centuries you've treated humanity as comic relief. You've mocked our supposed weaknesses while dismissing our potential strengths. You've made the same assumption that doomed the architects. That superior technology automatically equals superior wisdom. The holographic display showed new images, revealing human ships and installations throughout the galaxy, space stations disguised as mining operations, fleets hidden in asteroid fields, weapons platforms masquerading as research facilities. Humanity had been building a galactic infrastructure while their enemies laughed at their supposed incompetence. The Syndicate attack on Centauri was not an isolated incident, Dr. Foster announced. Our intelligence networks have documented plans by multiple species to partition human space, to claim our colonies as territories for expansion. You saw us as weak and decided to take advantage of perceived vulnerability. Elder Knox spoke with growing understanding of the situation's gravity. How long have you possessed these capabilities? Our first advanced starship launched 50 years after first contact, Alex replied. Our first successful faster-than-light experiments began 80 years ago. Our unified planetary government has existed for over 2 centuries, despite the political theater we performed for your entertainment. The implications were staggering. Every interaction between humans and alien governments had been based on false assumptions. Every trade agreement, every diplomatic negotiation, every moment of condescension had been occurring while humans possessed the ability to destroy their supposed superiors. What do you want? Ambassador Thane asked quietly. Alex studied the assembled delegates, representatives of civilizations that had controlled the galaxy for millennia. They were powerful, ancient, and sophisticated. But they had just learned that they were no longer the apex predators they had believed themselves to be. We want what every species wants, he answered. Security for our people, respect for our sovereignty, and the right to exist without interference. The difference is that we now have the power to guarantee those things ourselves. The Galactic Council session continued for hours as the reality of the new galactic order sank in. Humanity, was no longer the weak newcomer begging for scraps from the table of galactic politics. They were the newest superpower, one that had been hiding in plain sight while their enemies made plans based on fatally flawed assumptions. The laughter that had echoed through alien halls for centuries had died completely, replaced by the sound of civilizations scrambling to rewrite everything they thought they knew about power in the galaxy. 2 years after the Battle of Centauri, Admiral Alex Reed stood in the command center of the UES Harmony, humanity's new flagship and the most advanced vessel in the known galaxy. Through the transparent aluminum viewports, he could see the construction of New Geneva Station, a massive installation that would serve as the headquarters for the human protectorate. The galaxy had changed completely. Where once human ships had sputtered through space with mechanical failures and emergency repairs, now they moved with the fluid grace of apex predators. The primitive vessels that aliens had mocked for centuries had been replaced by sleek warships that could traverse the galaxy in days and project power across unlimited distances. Most importantly, they no longer traveled alone. "Admiral," reported Captain Diana Walsh from the communication station, "we're receiving requests for Protectorate membership from the Andorian Republic, the Centaurian Trade Coalition, and the independent worlds of Sector 7. Alex nodded, reviewing the requests. On his personal display, dozens of smaller civilizations, species that had been marginalized or threatened by the major galactic powers, were seeking the protection and partnership that only humanity could now provide. The Protectorate offered something revolutionary, genuine cooperation backed by unmatched strength. Any word from the Trilaxian Empire? Ambassador Thane has requested a formal audience, Captain Walsh replied. His message indicates that the Empire is prepared to discuss membership terms. The irony was perfect. The same ambassador who had publicly questioned humanity's right to observer status in the Galactic Council was now begging to join the organization that humanity had created to replace the old order. The Trilaxian Empire, which had controlled hundreds of star systems for over a millennium, now found itself becoming increasingly irrelevant in a galaxy where human technology set the standards for advancement. Through the viewport, Alex could see ships from dozens of different species docked at the growing station. Former enemies worked alongside former victims, united under the umbrella of human protection and guidance. The Protectorate had grown from a desperate necessity into the galaxy's dominant political force in less than 2 years. How are the negotiations with the Keeper Coalition progressing? Alex asked. Elder Knox has agreed to full disclosure of architect technology in exchange for Protectorate protection, Captain Walsh reported. Apparently, the discovery of their role in the architect genocide has caused significant internal strife. Several younger Keeper worlds have already requested independent membership. Alex smiled grimly. The ancient Keepers, who had once seemed untouchably powerful and wise, were now facing the consequences of their species' dark history. Their 3,000-year empire was fragmenting as younger generations questioned the leadership that had participated in genocide and then hidden behind mythology to avoid responsibility. Sir, interrupted Lieutenant Commander Torres from the tactical station, we're detecting unusual activity in the Void Syndicate's remaining territory. It appears they're attempting to raid human shipping lanes. How many ships? Intelligence. Estimates approximately 30 vessels, including several captured Trilaxian cruisers. They're operating in the dead systems near the galactic rim. Alex considered the information calmly. After their devastating defeat at Centauri, the Void Syndicate had fragmented into dozens of smaller factions. Most had sought amnesty through the Protectorate, accepting human oversight in exchange for protection and rehabilitation. A few groups, however, had chosen to become raiders and pirates, striking at targets they perceived as vulnerable. They were about to learn that vulnerability was no longer a human characteristic. Deploy the Fifth Fleet, Alex ordered. Full suppression mandate. Any syndicate forces that refuse surrender are to be eliminated completely. The orders went out across the human communication network, reaching ships stationed throughout the EO galaxy in minutes rather than the hours or days required by alien technology. Within an hour, human vessels were converging on syndicate positions from multiple directions, their coordination so precise that resistance was meaningless. the galaxy, had learned to fear the efficiency of human military operations. Where other species required lengthy planning and complex logistics, humans could deploy overwhelming force anywhere in the galaxy within hours of making the decision. Their weapons were unstoppable, their defenses were impenetrable, and their coordination was perfect. But military superiority was only part of humanity's revolution. "Admiral," called Dr. Anna Foster from the science station she had established aboard the flagship, "the terraforming project on Kepler 442b is ahead of schedule. We'll have a habitable world ready for colonization within 6 months instead of the projected 2 years." Human technology had advanced beyond military applications. Dead worlds were becoming garden planets, species facing extinction were finding new homes, and civilizations that had struggled with basic survival for millennia were discovering abundance under human guidance. The Protectorate offered more than protection. It offered hope for a better future. "What's the status on the Galactic Council?" Alex asked. Captain Walsh consulted her reports. "Effectively dissolved. The remaining member species have either joined the Protectorate or retreated to their core systems." Ambassador Thane was correct. When he said that human membership would change everything, he just didn't realize we would replace the entire system. The old Galactic Council, which had controlled interstellar politics for thousands of years, had become irrelevant within 2 years of humanity revealing their true capabilities. Species that had once competed for dominance now competed for human favor. Trade routes that had been controlled by ancient empires now fell under Protectorate jurisdiction. "Sir," Lieutenant Commander Torres announced, "the 5th Fleet reports. Complete success. 37 Syndicate vessels eliminated or captured, no human casualties. The remaining Raider factions are requesting negotiations. Grant them amnesty if they surrender completely," Alex ordered. "The galaxy has seen enough destruction. Our goal is unity, not conquest." That was the fundamental difference between humanity's rise to power and the historical pattern of galactic empires. Previous dominant species had ruled through fear and force, maintaining control by keeping potential rivals weak and divided. Humanity offered something different: genuine partnership for those who accepted their leadership, and swift annihilation for those who threatened the peace. "Admiral," Dr. Foster said quietly, "we're receiving long-range transmissions from beyond the galactic rim. It appears there are other civilizations out there, species we haven't encountered yet." Alex turned to study the preliminary data on his screen. Deep space sensors were detecting artificial signals from regions that human exploration had barely touched. The galaxy they had conquered was apparently much larger and more complex than anyone had realized. "Recommendations, Doctor?" "Proceed with caution," she replied. "We've learned what happens when superior civilizations underestimate newcomers. We should assume that anything we encounter beyond the rim is potentially more advanced than what we've seen so far." Alex nodded, appreciating the irony. Humanity had risen to galactic dominance by being underestimated, and now they faced the possibility of making the same mistake that had doomed their predecessors. The species that had learned patience through centuries of mockery would need to remember that lesson as they encountered whatever lay beyond the known galaxy. But that was a challenge for the future. For now, Alex stood in the command center of humanity's flagship, watching the construction of a space station that represented the new center of galactic civilization. Ships from hundreds of worlds moved through space under human protection, carrying trade and communication that connected species which had never cooperated before. The galaxy had stopped laughing at humanity. In its place, they had learned to hope, to prosper, and to work together under the guidance of the species they had once dismissed as primitive newcomers. The greatest joke in galactic history had become its greatest success story, and the punchline was a better universe for everyone willing to accept it.